Just another busy Tuesday in New York City. The latest on Aaron Rodgers, a positive development in Pete Alonso returning to the New York Mets, and the New York Football Giants are slowly but surely creeping back into the postseason race. But as Rich just said, let us all give a round of applause. For the first time in his career, he's a damn semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Tiki Barber, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Kind of like my post-career. First time in my post-career.
In your post-career?
Yeah. Kind of crazy.
How does it feel? Did you tear up when you found out about it?
No, I didn't. I kind of got a little heads up from Rondé, and he's like, "Be ready for this news." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then obviously I find out this morning. So it's humbling, man. It's been 17 years since I retired, so I've been eligible for 12 years, and this is the first time that I've been a semifinalist. And to be honest, some of it has to be due to him. Talking about my brother. His Hall of Fame speech, which I was at, it was funny. He leaned over to me and said, "I'm going to make you cry." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he got up there and he talked about, obviously he was talking about my mom, but also our family. And he said, if there's one thing that you remember from all that he's going to say, he talks for 15 minutes or so. He's like, remember this, you can't tell my story, meaning Rondé's story, without telling my story, the story of me. And because of our relationship and motivating each other and the career that I had, the statistics that Rich Ackerman has given to Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert got a shout out. I'm shouting out Rich because Rich had found them all. And so, it's kind of cool, right? It's a chance to revisit my career and have people talk about it and, judge whether or not I'm a Hall of Famer.
Well, hold on. Let me get this straight. If you get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we are going to give a lot of credit to Rich Ackerman for making it happen?
Rich Ackerman.
That is amazing.
I'm telling you.
That's amazing.
There's some things about my career that I don't even think I realized.
And Rich found out about?
Well,
did his research to find out?
He just did the research. He just said it, before we came on air. Yeah. He just got into a rabbit hole like I tend to do and just found all these different things like the number of people who have the total number of yards that are above you, all of them are in the Hall of Fame. And I think even a couple behind me are going to be in the Hall of Fame. And so it's like, why aren't you in the Hall of Fame? And the 10,000 yards rushing and 5,000 yards receiving, which everybody knew. It's just me and Marshall Faulk and I'm forgetting the other one now. But there's three people with 10,000 yards and 5,000 receiving. But you throw on the return yardage, there's nobody else.
LaDainian?
No. It's it'll come to my mind in a second. I'm forgetting now, but Marcus Allen, I think.
Oh, okay.
And so there's just some things that I've done. I had a good career.
You're damn right.
I'm excited about getting this opportunity to have the conversation, and the voting starts pretty soon for the finals. So
if you get in, because I'm a big believer in this. Like if I ever met a president, I call him Mr. President. If I ever meet a coach, I say Coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you get in, I'm just going to have to call you Hall of Famer all the time. Hall of Famer
Rich.
Tiki. Hall of Famer
Rich,
Tiki.
You have your list. Rich is coming in with this list of things. This is he sent me these emails like over the years.
Rich, understand if Tiki gets in, you get a shout out in the speech.
Yes.
You may come up and join in.
I may have to crash the parties.
Where did
this guy come from?
He has comparisons with Terrell Davis.
Wow.
And, did my 5 seasons versus TD's 4 top seasons, and the 10,000, Marshall Faulk, Marcus Allen, and myself are the only ones with 10,000 yards rushing and 5,000 yards receiving, touchdowns of 80 yards receiving, rushing, and returns. Nobody's ever done that as well.
Actually, I got that updated there. You're one of 5.
One of 5 that
yes.
has done that. 15th on the total yards list. 11 guys in front of me are in the Hall of Fame, including with guys like Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald likely to be headed there as well. So it's a lot of statistics, and that matters when you're trying to evaluate. I think the other thing that it's intangible to statistics, but it matters is the impact. What's your impact on the team you played on, but on the organization as well, and the game. So we'll see.
Oh, here's the impact. I still see people walking around with your jersey at MetLife Stadium all the time and around town.
How many dogs were named Tiki in the last 30 years?
That's true.
You know what my response would be, Sean, when people would say that to me? Oh, I named my dog Tiki. I'm like, is he still alive?
Well, congratulations. I guess it goes from semifinalist to finalist, before the postseason starts, around there?
Yeah, I think it actually happens pretty soon. And we'll chat with Gary Myers later because Gary's been an integral part of this as well. But he's one of the voters. And It's all about telling your story.
Right.
Getting your story out and and getting it out to the other voters and just making them aware and being in a semifinalist role now. It's a chance for people to revisit my career a little bit, which is kind of cool. It's awesome.
When I saw the tweet this morning from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I saw it as it came out, and I was so excited because I thought I was going to break the news to Tiki. And so in our text chat, I'm like, congratulations, semifinalists, thinking I supplied him the news. Little did I know you were tipped off by Rondé. So you already knew.
Well, he tipped me off to just be aware of the news that's coming. And then I found out.
If he doesn't tip you off, are you finding out on freaking Twitter? Like, literally, is that how semifinalists find out?
I mean, it's just, yeah.
You don't get a phone call?
Yeah, I mean, maybe some people do. I mean, I find out when I find out.
All right, well, congratulations.
I got jobs to do, man.
No, I understand. You're a busy guy. And by the way, last night, whether you people out there want to admit it or not, and this is the way I am with every team I root for or I don't root for. I'm very straight about it. These seasons that we live in, they're a whole year. And we spend a lot of time watching our teams, whether you're a Knicks fan, a Ranger fan, a Giants fan, a Mets fan, a Yankees fan. And yeah, there are a lot of seasons that go bad. In fact, more seasons than not go bad. Mm-hmm. But there's always hope. And sometimes hope is eliminated immediately, and you know right from the get-go, okay, this season's dead. And other times, you have a special year. And then there are other confusing years when you think you're dead, but you're sucked back in. Giant fans get sucked back in. Because last night, while you were watching a terrible football game,
which I watched every minute of,
and it was terrible, but it was exciting, right? Like,
yes.
It was terrible, but it was fun.
Yes.
The result brought you guys right back in it. And I know that sounds nuts because you're 4-8, but look at the NFC right now. Look at the Minnesota Vikings, who dropped to 500 after losing to the lousy Chicago Bears. Look at the Seahawks, whose next three opponents are the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And look at your own team, Giant fans. Look at your own team. You've won 2 in a row. You're on a bye week. And when you come out of the bye, you face a team that's in front of you in the standings. This doesn't mean the Giants are on the verge of winning their final games of the season to finish 9-8. I'm not making you that prediction. But what I am telling you, and you need to admit this, as uncomfortable as it sounds at 4-8, is that it's right in front of you. The NFC's mediocrity has sucked you back in. And before you yell at me and say, stop it, Evan, can I remind you of the final year Joe Judge was here? Remember when you suckers thought you had a chance to win the division at 6-10?
Yeah, I do.
And I was on all your side. Because what I said to Giant fans was, who cares if you win the division at 6-10? If you win the division, you win the division.
Right, you're in the playoffs.
That was the first year, George.
You're correct. I apologize. The first year with Joe Judge. The second year was a disaster.
Yeah.
You are on the doorstep, and we all know what happened, Eagles, Doug Peterson, all that. You had a chance to make it at 6-10, and you never apologized for that. So at 4-8, let me be the bearer of good news. You don't play another football game until 2 weeks from yesterday. Mm-hmm. And by the time the Giants take the field on Monday night at MetLife Stadium against the Green Bay Packers, I've got some good news for you. You're in it. You're alive.
You know it's gonna. You know how you always have regrets at the end of a season. You're always like, man, if this would have if the Giants had just beat the Jets, seriously,
And the Bills.
Oh, forget the Bills because the Bills are a good team. But they had just beat the Jets. They're sitting at 5-7 right now, and it's even more likely because of the mediocrity that's happening in the NFC right now. But your premise is correct, Evan. The Giants have a shot at this. Not that there is strong belief amongst Giant fans, but I think what this does do, and if you're going to be the one that's starting the narrative and I'm going to follow you and push it forward as well, is stop the tanking nonsense.
Yes.
Forget we got to be terrible so we can go get a top draft pick. That can't be a conversation anymore. I remember talking about this yesterday. We're talking about winning being the most important thing. And Brian Daboll and his staff have done a heck of a job of holding this thing together because it could have fallen apart with all the negativity that's been going around this team. But they held it together, and there were 2 straight wins. It feels like the season, at least the perception of Brian Daboll and the season, has been salvaged, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's salvaged now, like you've gotten to stabilization of emotion from Giant fans, the last thing you want to do is go backwards and root for losing.
Well,
so root for winning, and who knows what the hell's going to happen.
Dude, here's what I know. Okay, couple of things. First of all, to back up the narrative that's now dead about tanking, the New York Giants have a better shot at making the playoffs than getting the number 1 overall pick. They do. Mm-hmm. Sean, deny that. Try to deny that because you can't. Go ahead.
It's a caveat.
No, there's no caveat. What is a better
okay.
chance of happening? Answer the question.
I mean, neither are going to happen. Okay, I'll tell you playoffs, but it wasn't about the number one overall pick, but carry on.
No, I'm just saying. The New York Giants have a better chance of making the postseason than getting the number one overall pick.
Number 2 pick, because Carolina's just bad.
Right, and I would argue Chicago winning last night, our chances of the number 2 pick have now been raised immensely, but that's still probably New England.
The New England Patriots exist.
I know. They still play the Jets.
So that's number one when the whole tanking thing continues. And here's the second point. And I know that it's very easy to look at the Giants' schedule and say, well, about the Eagles. The Giants have to play the Eagles twice. And you guys are right. But here's the point. You have the ability now for the next 13 days to put your feet up and watch the rest of the NFC. And I got a spoiler alert for you. The rest of the NFC absolutely stinks. And you're going to watch this bottom 2 wild card spot come back to you. It's coming back to you. Now, again, that's not a prediction that you guys are going to run the table and beat the Eagles. That's not it. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. But what I know now is that it's in front of you. It's not in front of the freaking Jets.
Yeah.
If it was, I'd be screaming out of excitement that, hey, we're still alive. You're still alive. And you've got 2 weeks now to watch the Seahawks lose to the Cowboys and the Niners. And don't push back on this. Let's go Cowboys. If you're a real Giant fan, let's go Cowboys.
Yeah, right. You almost can't help but root for them right now. Look, you look at the top of the NFC. It's Philly, San Francisco, Detroit. Maybe they stay there or not if Jared Goff figures out how to stop turning the football over. But then after that, the Cowboys are there as well. So let's throw the Cowboys above the Falcons. The Falcons are sitting technically above them because they're leading the putrid NFC South. But let's put the Cowboys up above them. But after that, it's Seattle, Minnesota, Green Bay, who you play, L.A., who we play, L.A., who we play, the New Orleans Saints. Who do we play the Saints?
Yes.
Yes, who we play.
Yes.
So all of the team and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are sliding away right now. They just can't find ways
And also
to win
remember,
games.
Tiki, one of those South teams has to win the division.
Yeah, that's right. So the three of the teams that are sitting above the New York Giants right now, they have to play. And if they beat, I mean, they're right there. I mean, I hate to be having this conversation because I know you got to look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Those 2 games are going to mean something. But if the Philadelphia Eagles are going into week 17 or week 18, I guess, because with the bye week, and they're, 16-1, are they going to care? No, they're going to rest.
And not only that, Tiki, here's why I would take the Eagles out of your mind. I just slip it out of your mind. You have to look week by week by week. And if I would have told you at the beginning of the season, not knowing their record, not knowing the injuries, but I told you, hey, guys, you're going to go into Christmas Day against the Eagles, and you're a game out of a playoff spot. You're right there for a playoff spot. Would you say, who cares? I'd rather tank. We're not beating the Eagles. No.
That is so apples and oranges.
How is that apples and oranges? There's a really good chance that the Giants get to the Eagle game alive. Because I know you get into Week 14 Monday night against the Packers alive.
Evan, it's a completely different team than we thought we were going to have in terms of building blocks. If you told me at the beginning of the year, my assumption is Daniel Jones is here. He's another chance to make a playoff.
But why does it matter if you're a game out of a playoff spot? You're a game out of a playoff spot.
Because, Evan, here's the deal. And, I don't want to be Mr. Negative when it comes to the Giants. I love this team. Playing in a playoff game, great. But every time they have played a big-time team in the NFC, the Cowboys, the Niners, the Eagles the past couple of years, and you could dismiss that they're coming in 3 weeks, that matters, the Eagle game. The Giants haven't only lost, they've been annihilated and didn't belong on the same field. Right. So, when I watched last night and I watched the Bears and Vikings play, and I see what you're talking about with the 7 seed in the NFC.
Oh, it was bad.
Bad football.
It was bad
football. And the Giants at 4-8 to be right there with these bad football teams, I get the rah-rah part. But I pivot the other way and I go, remember all that talk about the Giants not being a quarterback away?
Yeah, but hold on. I don't think that the Giants are... We're not talking about them getting in the playoffs and doing something. We're talking about them
that's the problem.
Surviving this horrendous season. The start of the season has been horrendous. The offensive line play has been terrible. The injuries have been catastrophic. But to survive it, I mean, it tells you a lot about the character of the coach and the team. And I think, honestly, that's the most important thing. So if you make the playoffs after all of the crap that's gone on, it's almost a better coaching job than the one he did last year.
In a lot of ways it is.
Right? So that's what you got to think about.
And the other thing that I don't think you're focusing on, Sean, and I'm very consistent about this, whether it was the Jets or it's the Brooklyn Nets or it's any team I root for, do you want to be out of it in December as a football fan, or do you want to have meaningful games?
Yeah, it's hard to
Would you
watch football when it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I've always thought that even in basketball, where tanking is much more in vogue, I'm always like, get me to the playoffs. I don't care if I'm an 8 seed. I want to have that chance. All I'm telling you as a Giant fan, you guys can't even argue with me. You can't argue about this part. You're in it. Like, it's in front of you.
Faking it.
And it's not faking it. If you win the games in front of you, you can make the playoffs.
Evan, but this is
How's
where
that faking it?
This is where you're a maniac with this. You can't. Yes, Packers, Saints, You're right. They play those teams. You cannot have this conversation and completely say, forget about the fact that you play the Eagles in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No, that's a big part of
I
this. They
think
have no shot to win that game.
But hold on, I think you're missing the point. I think when you play this game, it's if you don't have a goal, like if you don't have a purpose, if there's no purpose. Like if you're the Carolina Panthers right now, what in the hell are you going to the facility for? Like seriously, it sucks. The only reason you're going there is because you're getting a paycheck. Right? You're showing up because I need to salvage my job, or I need to show up on Sundays and put good enough on tape. Because we talk about the Giants turning over 30% next year because of the amount of free agents they have. Carolina's probably going to turn over 50% of their team, right? So if you're in Carolina and you're going to the ballpark, half of this conversation is what am I doing this offseason? Like where am I going to play next year? Right? Does this coach actually like me, or does the new coach, is he going to like me? That sucks. Having a goalless month and a half of football is, trust me, I've been there. It sucks. What makes it much more compelling is even if you're not going to get there, you have a goal sitting right in front of you. And that goal for the Giants, as crazy as it sounds at 4-8, is making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
they might not get there. You might fall short of it. Right? You could throw some cheesy cliche, you aim for the stars and you land on the moon type of thing, right? It's less that. It's more just, I said it the right way, Loogie. The moon is closer than the stars.
I was just checking your work. Just checking your work.
So if you're like reaching for something, it gives you reason to go to work. I would hate to be the Carolina Panthers right now. If I'm the New York Giants, I'm excited because we've won a couple of games. Tommy's got some spunk. Coach Dave's is holding this thing together. There's been some infighting, but you know what? You come out of it playing better, right? I mean, Xavier McKinney is playing better after all the crap.
whole world off the edge.
Is unbelievable for a lot of this season, and you just feel better when you're winning, man. There's a goal, and so go chase the goal, even if it's unrealistic. Go chase it,
and
'cause
don't,
you don't know.
eliminate the goal because, in your opinion, they have no shot against the Eagles. Because I'm going to walk you through a very realistic scenario. The Giants build off of this 2-game winning streak. And they beat the Packers on a Monday night at home. Is that really crazy to beat the lousy Packers at home? And let's say they beat the Saints in New Orleans. There's a chance you're going into that Philadelphia game. Granted, a game I think you'll lose. But you have a chance of going into that game at 6-8, while Seattle is 6-8. Like, you have a chance to be right there.
Yeah.
So stop thinking about Christmas Day and think about what's happening around you. And yeah, I'll be the first one to ring the alarm bell. The bottom of the NFC is a disaster, and you have a chance to reap the benefits of it. The Vikings, Joshua Dobbs, let's put him in the Hall of Fame. What happened last night?
I mean, you're the guy who wanted to trade for him, but either way.
Yes, have you seen my mess? I'll still take him.
Can't two things both be true? I think everything Tiki said is so on point. I think it's great if these players and the coaching staff and everybody's going to the facility with purpose right now, and I want that. But as a fan, that doesn't mean you're in that room doing that. As a fan, I am looking at this, maybe it's glass half empty, going, look how bad this conference really is. And look at how we can still be in it with this roster and what's gone on now. Look at what happened last year with winning a playoff game. And I realize that while the Giants have been bullied by those good teams and probably get bullied in 3 weeks, they are closer than we think in being the best of the worst and getting close to those teams. And to me, just rallying here and coming up short, losing to Philly at 8-9 does nothing for me. Elite quarterback play will put the Giants in that conversation more than it will get your ass kicked on Wild Card Saturday.
We've learned a lot in the first 20 minutes of this show. If you didn't know, Tiki Barber is a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And the second thing we learned is that Sean Morash is a fraud Giant fan. We'll get to your calls coming up at 877-337-6666. A lot to get to today, including Aaron Rodgers maybe changing the goalposts on a possible return, and good news for my fellow Met fans. plus a lot of conversation with you at 877-337-6666. We are live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire, nobody. And there's one other big giant discussion that I think becomes even more pressing as the bottom of the NFC comes closer to the Giants. And that's the fact that Brian Daboll opened up kind of the can to a quarterback controversy. He didn't commit to Tommy DeVito on Monday night against Green Bay. With Tyrod Taylor potentially coming off the IR, he's opened the door to Tyrod Taylor being the quarterback. Well, who should be the quarterback? We'll get to that coming up very, very soon as well.